Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 617 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and an author. Our sixth book just came out. It's called I'm So Beautiful, It's Ridiculous. Unleashing and Promoting Strength, Self-Worth, and Real Sisterhood. So go and pick up that book on Amazon or Barnes& and Noble today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. So, fun fact, I never used the counseling center on my college campus as an undergraduate, and that was a huge mistake. It wasn't until I was in my 40s that I discover just how great a good therapist could be. So don't wait. Your college tuition is already paying for the folks that are sitting in the counseling center to help you every day. So get started today. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about getting started with mental health. So with over 7 years of experience as a licensed mental health counselor, Colleen Gigante has developed a passion for helping children and families overcome mental health challenges and achieve their full potential. She has a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and education specialist degree in school psychology, which equip her with the knowledge and skills to provide effective and evidence-based interventions for various psychological issues. Colleen has contributed to the development and implementation of programs and initiatives that promoted mental health awareness and education in her community. Some of her achievements include increasing client satisfaction by 90%, reducing wait times by 15%, and leading multiple workshops and seminars on topics such as child development, parenting skills, and stress management. Welcome to the show, Colleen.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's an
Of
honor.
course, your expertise is very needed. When we look at some of the data in terms of anxiety and depression and stress with the college students, it is off the charts right now. So you are
Yes.
welcome on the show anytime. And I just appreciate you being here because your story actually starts with pain, neglect, and adversity. But you describe yourself as an alchemist, transforming that pain into empowerment. So I'm wondering, can you
Yes.
share how this transformation started for you?
Uh, sure. It actually started when I started really looking at my life, and not in a judgmental way, but in a way of, okay, why is this stuff happening to me? Instead of like, well, I apologize. What am I supposed to learn from this stuff happening to me instead of why is this happening to me? I've been through numerous traumas in my life, and I could go through them, but they're, from being the black sheep of the family and kind of being ostracized to being in a very, very abusive relationship and going through that. He's actually in prison for murdering his second wife.
Oh, wow.
And being in a car accident where I couldn't walk for 2 years. There's been a lot of adversity in my life, and I had to finally stop and say, okay, I'm not letting this take over me anymore. I'm done with this. This is not me. I'm not letting these things define who I am.
Mhm.
And it was at that moment that I started looking at and saying, okay, I was in an abusive relationship because I needed to value myself more. I was in a car accident where I couldn't walk for 2 years because I needed to have more gratitude for the life that I have. So as I did these things and I was just more and more grateful every single day for everything I had, whether I could get out of bed or not, um, I started to feel a very different feeling internally, and feeling that feeling internally kind of at some point in time just took over everything else and just started radiating externally. But it wasn't until I actually sat down and sat and said, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn to be a better person, to be a higher version of myself?
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that story. I appreciate that. And now I see how you turn that darkness into light today. And you've said
Thank you.
that your purpose is actually to help other people reconnect with their authentic selves. So, what does
Yes.
that mean to you, authentic self? And how can college students begin that process of reconnecting with that?
Well, a lot of things, I one of the things I do is I work with a lot of addiction. Okay.
Mhm.
And what I like to do, and I do this the same way I actually find the authentic self, is there was a point in time in our life where we were just innocent. There was a point in time in our life where we weren't afraid of anything, where we weren't self-confident, or where we weren't sorry, not self-confident, where we didn't have confidence. It just didn't matter because we were kids.
Mm.
We were kids and nothing mattered. It was all about, how high can I climb the tree, or how fast can I run? That's all that mattered. And going back to our authentic self is actually going back to that child. And so what I do for the my clients who are in addiction, is I say to them, tell me your very first memory where you were happy. What was your first memory when you were happy? And then what we do is we kind of dive into that. So again, the authentic self is that person before the world got to you.
Mm.
It's that person before that guilt consumed you. It's that person before that shame overcame you. It's that person that you are without all of those shadows attached to you.
That's an excellent exercise. I really like that. And now I'm starting to think about that when my first memory, when I can remember that I was like super happy. I'll have to think about that a little bit more.
it's it's very difficult for people to do, to be honest.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm thinking now in my database, I'm like, all right, when was the first one? So I keep going back earlier and earlier. So really interesting stuff. I read an article this week that came out in Inside Higher Ed, and it really gave me pause because it gave me a lot of concern for young men in particular, because it
Uh,
said that 57% of Gen Z men surveyed described their mental health as either fair, poor, or very poor. That's kind of alarming to me.
wow,
57% of Gen Z males, that's a lot of
that's a
people.
lot.
And so you're a licensed psychotherapist, you're a school psychologist. I'm wondering what mental health challenges that you see most frequently among college students and young adults today.
Well, anxiety,
Hmm.
depression. I see what sometimes becomes a lot of isolation because you just don't fit in anywhere.
Hmm.
Um, and when we allow these things to happen to us, okay, so when we're anxious or fearful about something, we're actually living in the future, not the present.
Hmm.
And when we're regretful or feel guilt about something, we're actually living in the past, not the present. So, what I like to tell, and this is so important, and these are like mindfulness tricks, right? Well, what I like to do is say, just breathe. You breathe in the moment, and then you're not feeling any of those things, because all you're feeling when you breathe is gratitude.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, when I see this happening to these kids, a lot of times what I like to do is, number one, tell them to be gentle with themselves because they're not perfect. They're not supposed to be. They're just supposed to be real. So feelings of any kind are very, very valid. And number two, take a minute and look at what exactly is happening. What exactly is happening? Why are you feeling this way? Is it a test? You have test anxiety. Okay, why do you have test anxiety? Did you study? Do you think you know what you're doing? Like, why do you have test anxiety? I had I work with a lot of teens, and I'd let the parents give them my phone number, if it was okay with the parents to get my phone number. And I had one who had really bad test anxiety, and she would text me before almost every test and be like, Miss Colleen, I'm about to take that test. Like, I'm starting not to be able to breathe, you know. And so I'd walk her through like the panic attack, and the thing I would say to her, I'd be like, you know what? Did you study? And she's like, yes. And I said, okay. Do you know what you studied, or do you understand it? She goes, yeah, of course I do. Okay. Then why are you concerned? Why are you concerned? All you're doing is you're creating a world that is actually imaginative. You're creating in your imagination this anxiety that you're feeling right now. Because when we feel anxiety or we feel fear, it's our imagination. It's not real. It's not real. And if there's one thing I would love for every child to understand, is that. Because sometimes what happens is we get so overwhelmed with whatever that feeling is, that anxiety or that fear, that we actually forget everything else. We forget everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And when we forget everything else, all we're doing is letting in all the noise. When instead, if we just sit, again, go back to the present, we sit for a minute and we breathe.
Mm-hmm.
It's keeping all that noise away. Because every time that we breathe, we actually release different chemicals. We actually release different hormones. We actually have a part of us in our amygdala that gets less activated. And the amygdala is the area, one part of the area where we have our feelings, our fight and flight response.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can lower or decrease that activation in there, then we don't go into that fight or flight response. Instead, we just stay and breathe. I talk about this a lot with my clients when it comes to feelings and emotions. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay to feel that way. You're mad. It's okay. You're upset. It's okay. You feel rejected. Okay. You're allowed. Those feelings mean something. You need to feel them. They need to be valued. And then you need to say, but I'm still going to go ahead and move on anyway,
Mm-hmm.
because those feelings are just temporary.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's say that somebody has those feelings and maybe they're feeling lost at the moment. They're feeling anxious at the moment. They're feeling disconnected, and they're going into isolation. You mentioned breathing, and I think that's good. Are there any other tools? Are there any other things that could help these clients move from surviving to truly thriving? Is it mindfulness? Is it yoga? Like what else do you recommend?
It's well, those things definitely, but
Yeah.
honestly, it's getting control of your mind. And the way to do that is, well, let me ask you a question. How do you know your name?
I mean, people have been calling me that name since I was born.
Right?
Yeah.
So at some point when you were a baby, you looked up when someone said Michael,
Yep.
and everybody's like, oh my God, look, the baby just looked at us. That's so cute. And you were like, oh, whew, I did something good. I'm going to do that again. Look at all the attention I just got. Right?
Yep.
So over a period of time, and now you'll never forget your name.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
Even if you were somewhere way across the world and someone screamed and you knew nobody there and someone screamed out Michael, would you turn around?
Yeah.
That's because whatever we put into our mind is what we believe. And the more and more that we tell ourselves and the more and more that we hear it, the more and more it becomes part of our subconscious.
Mhm.
Just like your name is part of your subconscious. You're never going to forget it. No matter what, it's there.
Mhm.
Same thing. One of the things I like to do with my clients is, and I tell them all the time, go get a whiteboard marker and write on your bathroom mirror something about yourself that maybe somebody told you at some point in time that maybe you believe, but you don't believe, but you want to believe. Okay. And so, for instance, if somebody said, oh, well, Michael, you have pretty eyes. And you're just like, oh, thank you, but yeah, but you're like, okay, I do have pretty eyes, right?
Mhm.
But you would never tell yourself that because God forbid you give yourself a compliment. So what you would do is you would write on that bathroom mirror is, I have pretty eyes. Why is that the way that that should be done? Because that's something you've already heard. That's something that you kind of believe, but not really want to let yourself believe because of subconscious limiting thoughts. So why you put it on the bathroom mirror is because you're in the bathroom all the time.
Mhm.
Whether you're going to the bathroom, whether you're washing your hands, whether you're taking a shower, whatever you're doing. So you're in the bathroom all the time anyway. So when you look at the mirror, you're going to see that on the mirror. You're going to replay that in your mind. You're going to repeat that in your head. And then eventually, what's going to happen, because we connect different things with neurological pathways, right? We connect them to what we believe. Eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to be sitting down watching TV and think, oh, I've got to use the bathroom. And then you're going to be like, oh, I have pretty eyes. You won't even have to walk into the bathroom because you already be thinking that's already there. You've already seen it enough times. You've already read it enough times. So then the next thought is, oh, I have to use the bathroom. And then, oh, I have really pretty eyes.
Nice. I like it. I think that would be really effective for many of our listeners. I think, part of the problem, and I'm speaking as a guy now, is that, when I was raised, distinctly remember when my parents would tell me to essentially toughen up, don't cry right now. Boys don't cry. And so what ends up happening is now we grow up and suddenly we can't express ourselves with our feelings because we've been told our whole lives not to do that. And so we're fighting against that. And I think a lot of students, quite frankly, are just afraid to ask for help. So I'm wondering what colleges can do, what fraternity and sorority leaders can do in their organization to make seeking therapy or counseling feel more normal and supported.
Well, first of all, boys cry and men cry, and that's okay. Crying is the biggest form besides praying of alchemy. So when we cry, we're literally sending our tears to our higher source, to heaven, to God, to whoever it is, because at that point in time, we're in such pain. And that's when our higher source, God, comes to us and helps us. So there's nothing wrong with crying, ever. And the other thing is, guys, nobody's supposed to live in isolation. Okay. That's why COVID happened and everyone went nuts because we're supposed to have human interaction.
Mhm.
When we're dealing with something and we're having an issue of some kind, a problem, we don't find the answers just by thinking we're alone. We're out there. That's the whole point of humanity, is to help one another. Everybody else who thinks it's to be, highly successful or to be extremely wealthy or to have all the power in the world or to be the most beautiful or the most handsome or be the most popular, whatever. No, 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 sweetheart, no. Humanity is here to help others. And that's why it does take a village. It truly takes a village. And when it comes to getting help, I did not choose this profession. This profession chose me. I've been the same person I've always been since I was probably born, to be honest. And I was fortunate enough to be able to be given an opportunity to get my master's degree, to go to school, to finish up and do everything that I've done so that I can help others heal their hearts.
Mm. I love that mission. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And clearly, you've used the adversity that you've been through as a child, whether that be family struggles, maybe rejection, maybe failure in terms of relationships, whatever. You use all of that as fuel for growth, rather than something that is going to define you in a negative way. So I'm wondering, how can college students use their adversity? And I'm sure they've been through it as well, trauma, you name it. How can they use that as fuel for growth?
So, remember I was talking about the relationship I was in,
Hmm.
the with the abusive person, right?
Yeah.
And that he went to prison for murdering his second wife.
Yeah.
I was very, very lucky to get out of that situation. But guess how I got out of that situation?
Don't know.
I had had my child, my first child, in December of 2021.
Hmm.
I got into the car accident where I couldn't walk for 2 years in March of 2022.
Wow.
I couldn't take care of my child. I couldn't even so what ended up happening is I moved here. I had to come here because I couldn't take care of my child that was just born on my own.
Mhm.
And I couldn't rely on him to do it. So, and when I say I couldn't walk, like my mom had to get in the shower with me because I could not lift my arms but this much over my head. My whole body was just frozen with muscle spasms. That car accident took everything away from me. I mean, financially, physically, spiritually. I started going, why? You don't love me? What's going on? I started looking at this as the worst thing in the world until years later, where I go, oh my God, that car accident got me away from that abusive situation.
Mm.
I could have been that person. So when you ask me, how do I use adversity or how can I help people use adversity for fuel?
Mhm.
Understand that everything that happens to you, and I swear to you, everything that happens to you is for you. Everything that happens to you is for your greatest good. You might not understand it. You may not like it. You may hate it. You may be so pissed about it. I promise you, it's all for your greatest good.
Mm.
And you will one day realize that. If you looked right now, Michael, and I asked you, what's something that you thought was devastating for you that got almost destroyed you? What could you tell me?
Oh yeah, I know exactly what that is. And you're right. I didn't understand it at the moment, right? It's basically, leaving what I would consider to be kind of the my dream job, and walking away from that. I thought it was really the end of the world. But the
Yeah.
truth is, right now I can look back at it many years later and realize that that had to happen in order for me to find what I was meant to do with my entire life,
Yep.
right? And so I never would have been pushed into that uncomfortable zone to find what it is that I needed to do with my life if that had not happened. But at the moment, it felt like the walls were caving in. When I tell
Yes.
you that feeling of the walls were caving in and like my life is over, right? Like the walls are caving in. I'm walking away from my dream job and it's all over. And it had to happen that way. And so
Yeah.
years later, I realized that. But in the moment, I felt like it was over.
Now, in
Everything.
the moment, it sucks. Are you
Oh
kidding?
yeah.
I couldn't walk for 2 years. I was not a happy person at all.
Yeah.
But again, it's everything that every adversity that we go through, everything that we have to face
Mm,
that we don't want to face is there for a reason. It's either for our protection, it's for our redirection. It is a reason, okay? God will come in and he will literally pluck people out of your life if he sees that you're not going on the purpose that he created you for.
mm. Yeah. I think that's beautiful. Very, very well said. Obviously you're familiar with social media and the pressure that that puts on young people. I'm thinking about
Yes.
Instagram as an example, that I need to suddenly have six-pack abs and my body has to be perfect because I see other people on Instagram and they look that way. And I'm like, why do I not have six-pack abs? And so I think that fraternity and sorority life is great. It certainly brings you deep friendships, and I'm grateful for that. Um,
Connection's important.
yeah, that connection is critical, and I think it really helps a lot of students with belonging and love that we all need.
Yes.
Going back to
Yes.
Maslow's hierarchy, right? We
Yes.
need love and belonging in order to achieve our full potential in
Yes.
life. But I also think that there's a lot of pressure around our outward image and belonging. So I'm wondering what advice you would give to fraternity and sorority members that are trying to balance authenticity with acceptance.
Okay, so I look at things a little bit different than most people. Just let you know. And I'm just gonna be honest.
Mhm.
And that is your authenticity is magnetic. Don't ever dim your light for somebody else's shadow. Don't ever lower yourself down to somebody's level. And I'm not saying they're bad, okay? I'm not saying they're bad. But if you're here and they're here, they need to come up to you
Mhm.
to be in your energy. You do not go down to them. And I understand. I have never felt like I belonged anywhere. No, never. And it's funny because I felt like I would fit in everywhere, but never really belong anywhere. Okay. So I was with the jocks. I was with the swimmers. I was with the the people who were out back, smoking pot. Like I was out with everyone, right? And
Mhm.
and that's who I was, and that's who I've always been. Um, but as far as actually belonging somewhere or fitting in, no. I've always felt like I'm by myself. I'm kind of a lone wolf.
Mhm.
And that's okay. And the thing that I realized is I hold my energy very sacred. Right now, I hold my energy very sacred because I gave it away to a lot of energy vampires. I gave it away to a lot of people who needed me to feel weaker for them to feel powerful, right? So unfortunately, and I say this, and I've even had stories about this, people like us sometimes when we're broken and shattered because they can control the narrative that way. And so when we dim our light for somebody else, we're giving them authority basically to do that. Being authentic is what we were made to be. Your talents, your gifts, your idiosyncrasies, your awkwardness, your whatever it is, okay, was given to you, put in your purview so that you would do something with it.
Mhm.
See it as a gift, not as something that is bad and you have to stop. I had a boyfriend one time who, my ex, he would say to me, you know, you don't have to do all that. And I'm like, I know that. I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I want to. If I did things just because I had to, then why would I do that? Like, my genuine self is a giver, is a nurturer. That's who I am. But that was too much for him. And that's the problem with being authentic, guys. That's the problem with being authentic. When you're your authentic self, the people around you who are not authentic, they don't like it.
Mm.
Because then your light shines on all their darkness. So when you're in a crowd and you feel awkward, read the energy, understand why you feel that way, because I promise you there's something there. I don't know if it's because you're supposed to be there to help brighten somebody else's day, or because you feel anxiety and depression or pain off of somebody else's energy, but there's always a reason for it. But see, you being authentic really bothers people because most people can't be authentic. Because to be authentic, you have to really love yourself. You have to value who you are. Because then, guess what? Nobody else will ever have power over you. I promise.
Mm. I think that's a really good place to leave this conversation. I think that's fantastic. Now, I know that you are in the Tampa Bay area, and I do get there quite often. And the food in Tampa Bay is
Oh,
excellent. It's really, really good. I'm wondering where should I go next time I'm in Tampa Bay for a great meal?
uh, so a few places that I really like. Eulalie is one of them.
Hmm.
It's great, in-house cuisine, very good. Colombia, of course.
Yes,
You
that's my
know,
favorite. I
the
love
Spanish
Colombia.
Cuban food.
Oh my
Can't
God,
beat
it's so
that. I
good.
love that.
It's so good.
Um, and cask and ale, are they're never disappoints.
Very nice. I was actually testing you to see if you were going to come up with Colombia because that place is fire. That place
It
is
is
just
fire. You're
fire.
not wrong. It is fire.
I was like, we're going to test and see if she really knows cuisine in Tampa Bay right now. And the fact that you came up with it, number two, you get a thumbs up for me. You know where what good food is because that place is just incredible. So
Yes.
anyway, yeah, when you're in Tampa Bay, go check out that place. You'll love it. All right. So if our listeners, if they want to connect with you for speaking opportunities on college campuses, where should they go in order to connect with you?
So right now our website is actually having some construction done. So I apologize for that ahead of time. But you can reach me. My email, professional email is cg2020therapy@gmail.com. And I am on Instagram as well. It's at happiness 20195. Go figure with the name, right?
Mhm.
And also Facebook and LinkedIn. Colleen Gigante. Um, and I would love more than anything to actually be able to present and discuss these opportunities with students, faculties, advisors, anything I can do to help promote healing in the mental health space. I'm there. Sign
Fantastic.
me up.
All right, Colleen Gigante, very nice. Well done today. I really appreciate you sharing all this great information with our listeners. I'm sure many of them are going to be reaching out to you to help them on their college campus. So
It'd be my
really
honor.
appreciate it. Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation with Colleen, I want you to like it and I want you to share it with other college students that need to hear her words. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Bye for now.